I've had the incredible honor of interviewing Ray Beldner, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before we dive into this interview. We had a really interesting talk, and he has such an incredibly generous offering for you. So stick around towards the end of our talk. He invites you to his inner circle. You need to check this out. Okay, so I met Ray when I stepped into my first art fair experience with the startup art fair that he created. And he just became a really influential, inspiring artist and mentor to me. And I'm really honored to share him with you. So, Ray is a mixed media artist whose work has been exhibited internationally and can be found in many collections, including oh my gosh, so many things. National Portrait Gallery, Washington, D.C., the Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco, Oakland Museum of California, the San Jose Art Museum, Museum of Art, the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art, Arizona, and the Federal Reserve Board, Washington, D.C., among others. The work is in several corporate collections, such as Saks Fifth Avenue, Bain Capital. Oh my goodness, so many things, some hotels. It just goes on and on. Ray's resume, his CV goes on and on and on. He's so accomplished. He was born in San Francisco and received a BFA from the San Francisco Art Institute and an MFA from the Mills College of Oakland in California. And he's received numerous awards and fellowships. He's taught sculpture and interdisciplinary studies at the San Francisco Art Institute and the California College of Arts, University of California, Berkeley, and Santa Cruz. He's been in publication after publication after publication, and I'm just extraordinarily honored to get to interview him. Let's dive in. Come back to his website. It's a beautiful place to hang out. Check out this work. Phenomenal. All right, let's dive in. Wait, where are you in the world right now? Are you in San Francisco? No?
No, over COVID, I moved up to the Sierra foothills in what's called the Gold Country near Sacramento.
Oh, beautiful.
But last year, my partner got a job offer in Dallas. And so now I'm in an apartment in Dallas.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been an
Tech.
interesting journey.
Yeah, yeah. I like Texas. I have some family there. That's cool.
Yeah, it's okay. I like it.
So you have an incredibly extensive and robust and impressive CV, and I it's a massive, thorough honor to be talking with you, and I'm just really grateful. You have been um an inspiration to me, and you have been very kind and generous to me, and I'm forever grateful for that because that is not something I've encountered too much of in the art world. And I'm just very grateful for that in you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Well, you are welcome. And um, that sort of leads into what I wanted to talk about actually today, which is this concept of community. I don't, I'm, I hate the term paying it forward, but I feel like I'm constantly paying it forward because so many people helped me as a young artist. Probably not enough. There wasn't, in my mind, enough mentorship in art school and post art school, post grad school for my liking. But I realized pretty quickly that the only way to be successful in any field, but particularly in the art field, is by banding together in various ways, by learning, from older artists. And I just think we need more of it. And I was an art professor for 20 years, and 15 of those I taught a class called Getting There from Here, Out of the Frying Pan and Into the Fire. Basically, it was a professional practices class for artists. And I felt like it was my responsibility as a older artist to help younger artists understand what it is to live a life as a working artist, how difficult it is, but also, the understand how the system works and how you can help each other. So, and that's why I started my art fair as well. It was an extension of this idea of mentoring and helping younger artists. I saw an opportunity to create a fair that would give opportunities to other artists. And that is as much as a part of my practice as my own art making. Because, I feel like as much as I have helped people and mentored younger artists, so many people have helped me and have given me lots of guidance in my life and lots of assistance.
Mm. Yeah. When you mentioned art school, I did formal art school as well, and had some of the same experiences that you mentioned. And I'd love to know if you could reform art school today,
Yeah.
what would you change or add in?
Oh
What
my
do
God.
you need?
Holy cow. That you got an hour?
I know, I wish.
Well, I mean, here's what I would do. But in kind of broad strokes. First off, I would make all art schools have a 2-year mandatory core program like the one I went through. So they would learn color theory, design, materials and methods, figure drawing, the basics of art history. Um, you know, it was shocking to me as a teacher how little technique my students actually had. And that's because all that core stuff was was swept away in favor of the sexy theory classes and conceptual art classes. And not that I have any problem with that, but I think that it has to be grounded in a real understanding of traditional art materials and methods. So I do that first. Then the next thing I would do is I would require, at minimum, the seniors have a year-long practicum that was based on my professional practices class. And in fact, my professional practices class originally was a 2-semester class for seniors and grad students. And it's great because there's that much information to know before you leave school, so that when you leave, you have a good sense of where you're going and how to get there. Every other field of study, if it's the law or if it's medicine or even academic subjects, going into academia, there are pathways that are clearly defined. There are internships and there are career nights. There's lots of ways that young students kind of learn not only the field that they're interested in, but how to get into the field. Nobody does that anymore. You get a degree, they kick you out, they never want to hear from you again. So there has to be some kind of course for graduating seniors where they understand how the art world works, all the options in the art world. You don't just have to be an artist who paints big paintings that get sucked up by galleries and then go to museums. There's lots of ways to be in it in a variety of ways. So that would be my ideal. And then there would be a very strong alumni network that would mentor artists post graduation. And I am very hard pressed to 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 know of any art schools or even art programs in good schools that have anything like that. It doesn't exist anymore. But
I
that's what I would do.
begged my professors for something like what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, when I proposed my class at the San Francisco Art Institute, the dean and the president of the school loved it, absolutely loved it. But then all my colleagues hated it. They pushed back on it so hard.
Why is
Why
that?
do we need to teach them marketing? Why do we need to teach them this and that? And I'm like, we're just teaching them how to survive. I go, they can't all be privileged like you, where you've got a tenure track job. You never have to make art for the rest of your life or sell it. These guys are going to go out there and try to be, working artists. So I got a lot of pushback for it, but you know what? It was wildly popular. My syllabus alone, I'm sorry, not my syllabus, my reading book that I put together out of readings from different books that I had accumulated, from theory to, art practice. That that little, Xeroxed book that I would put out every semester, it would sell out in the school store way beyond the number of students. I could have 20, 25 students. We'd sell 50 copies of it because people
Wow.
were dying for that information, dying for it.
Yep.
And even to this day now, so that was, whatever, 25 years ago when I started that. To this day, there aren't regular and required courses in art schools and in art programs in colleges. There's very few. When I talk to young artists now who are just graduating, they're like, yeah, we never had anything like that. But I think that's where we kind of miss the boat in the educational world, is thinking seriously about art as a discipline and as a career. We don't we don't really we don't really take it seriously. People don't, as you know, people don't take artists very seriously in general. That's why they don't want to pay them. They don't want to pay them because they don't think what they do is worthwhile. And yet, when you look around wherever you are, everything that you can see has been made by an artist or an artisan. But somehow that's not important enough for us to teach them, their career, about their careers, or pay them for their work.
Well said. Yeah, agreed. What has been the most fun and maybe easiest way for you to have an income as a professional artist?
There's no easy way, number one. And sometimes I don't think it's even that fun. um, yeah, well, I can tell you how I make money from my art, and that's going to be completely different and not applicable to everybody else. But my focus, I mean, so I was more of a conceptual artist when I got out of grad school. My work was conceptually based. I showed in galleries in New York and LA and San Francisco and Miami, and I was in lots of museum shows. And as I used to like to say to people, that and $5 gets you a cup of coffee. It didn't really make a living for me because I was laboring under this old paradigm that was imparted to me by my professors, that you don't have to make money on your art. You make it, you go get a job. And that job is usually teaching. So that's what I did. I first worked in the trades and, in construction, then I started teaching. And then my art career wasn't dependent on sales. And that's totally valid way to do it. Absolutely fine. Lots of artists do it, but fewer and fewer artists do it now for a variety of reasons. One is there's fewer teaching jobs full time that really can give you full time income. So, and then there are just a lot of artists out there that don't want to, and they shouldn't have a job to support their art career. So when I was doing that, that worked out fine. But now I'm really focused on having my work support me. And so I'm not that interested in showing in galleries. Um, I have a friend who only goes to art fairs, just takes his work from art fair to art fair. And I asked him, I said, hey, don't you work with galleries? And he said, Ray, if I wanted a part-time job, I would get my work into a gallery, meaning he'd have to then support himself through other means if he relied on galleries for his living. So he's figured out another way. And so for me, I've been making work that is more intuitive and abstract and non-objective. and larger and colorful more than I've ever in my life because I now feel life is too short and art should be joyous and bring joy to people and spaces. And so I'm working primarily with art consultants. And I do love it because art consultants are the grease that makes the art world go round. Because, if you have a gallery, if you're lucky enough to be in a gallery, you might get a show every 2 years. And if you're a really good artist that sells well, maybe you'll sell half of your show. Then what do you do the rest of the 2 years? Art consultants aren't dependent on their having a high overhead space like a gallery. They have lots of clients from private collectors to hotels, hospitals, office buildings, public projects. So they need lots of art by lots of different artists. So they have lots of clients. They have lots of artists that are kind of uh, in their catalog, and so they sell art every day, multiple pieces of art, big art, small art. They are good art consultants, move a lot of work. And so that's why I've focused on building relationships with art and consultants because I sell way more work with art consultants than with dealers. And I really love it because I don't have to worry about what to do in between my, biannual shows.
Incredible. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And you can work with as many art consultants as you want. You can take on as many or as little as you want. They're a lot easier to approach than gallerists who have a very small stable of 20, 30 artists. Art consultants work with hundreds of artists.
You really just killed the romance for us all, Ray. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I love it though, because that is the model. Art school, gallery, a sale.
Yeah.
And if you can get your art in galleries, then
And
you've
it's
made
such a narrow, that model is when I started doing the art fair, I was coming out of a very tumultuous time in my life personally. And I had stopped making work for a couple of years. And I was also concurrently raising my two children who were pretty young at the time. And so I didn't have a lot of time for my own work. But when I started the fair, it put me in touch with artists who didn't want that model. These were people that went from fair to fair to fair. They did open studios, they did fairs, they did pop-ups, they worked with art consultants. It really, for someone who had been already doing art for 20 plus years, had taught art for 15, 20 years at that point, it opened up my mind to the possibilities. And I always knew that was out there, but to actually watch these startup artists, you among them, making their work and putting it out in the world and controlling how that goes, not giving it to a middle person, it really showed me a model, a working model that I hadn't considered. And everybody did it slightly differently. Everybody has a different way of doing it. And it was really beautiful. And I think that artists just don't understand the scope of the art world. One of the things I used to do in my professional praxis class, they would write artist statements, they would create an elevator pitch, they would get their images together, they would make a website if they didn't have one, they would, write a grant, they would, I would have them go through all the things that an artist has to do. But every week I'd bring in a different speaker. And that could be, it'd be an artist, it'd be a public artist, it would be a gallerist, it'd be someone who runs a nonprofit space, someone who runs an artist in residency program, it would be an art fair person, it would be an art consultant, an art critic, an art writer, a collector. We'd go to collectors' homes. They didn't even know where their work went. They're making all this work. So it's like, who buys it? Who will buy this work? And if they buy this work, what happens to it? And what's your responsibility even beyond the studio to that collector? That kind of shit just totally blew their minds. They didn't even know a tenth of what the art world was. To them, it was galleries and museums. And I think that's, even for me, I'm learning every day new things, like new ways to market your work, new places to put it, new ways to connect with people. And now, because of the internet revolution and because of COVID, primarily, we were sort of forced to pivot and find different models or create new models. And like this, connecting online, um, which is another place where art gets exhibited and sold.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
also opened up many more possibilities for artists to make a living on their work, and I'm all for that. So if it happens in the real world or on a computer, I don't care. If it's benefiting artists, it's a good thing.
I love that about you. You're really, really open-minded to the potentials and the increasing possibilities that it's required.
Yeah.
How does how does an artist that's starting
Mm-hmm.
connect with an art consultant? Is it even appropriate to go there? Or when would an artist be ready to work with an art consultant?
Yeah. Good question. Well, first off, you got to make good work and you got to make a lot of it. The thing I think young artists forget is they forget they have to make a lot of art. They make a few things that's really good, and then they have this pace which is probably not appropriate to either galleries or art consultants. You
What
first have to ask,
what is a lot to you when you say that?
uh, well, it's different for different people because some people are incredibly prolific. But if you, for example, if you're going to approach a gallery, you have to have an entire body of work ready to go. You can't show them three things and then say, give me a show. With art consultants, you have to have a range of things, right? From really big to really small, because they have different needs for different clients. Maybe the same client has different needs. They need small things for one area and they need a big statement piece for another. So having a range of work, a lot of work, and obviously it has to be a fairly consistent body of work. It can't be haphazard. So it's hard to know when you're ready to put your artwork in the art world out there. It's different for different people, but what I see artists do, besides just their work isn't really technically ready, is they just don't have enough. But say you do, say you've been out of school for a few years, you worked really hard, you've got this whole body of works on paper that aren't very, big, just modest size, and then you've done a bunch of big paintings as well, and they're all beautiful, they're all very consistent. And maybe you've shown them or you sold a few, but you've got enough. The way you connect with art consultants, it's super easy, actually. First off, as with approaching anybody in any field at all, make sure that the person you're approaching, your work is appropriate for what they do. Because not every art consultant does the same thing. Some art consultants only do public art. Some art consultants only work in hospitality. Some art consultants only sell artwork on cruise ships. It's like, so before you approach them, in order to have the best result, make sure you make the kind of work that they sell, right? So know who your target audience is. And then it's as easy as just going onto their website. Many of them actually have intake forms for artists. They'll have a place on their website that'll say, are you an artist? Send us your work. So you can either upload images or you can upload your website address or something. So some have that, but many, don't. Um, so I just email them. It's as easy as that. I will either connect with them online somehow in LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, or I'll just cold email them and say, I'm an artist. I work with, art consultants. I'm open to commissions. I've done some really big projects, but I have some small work as well. Here's a PDF. Let me know if this is of interest to you. And if it is, I can send you more. Here's my website, blah, blah, blah. Really super direct.
Wow.
You'll get a lot of non-responses. You'll get a bunch that'll be like, this is great, we'll keep it in our files, we'll let you know when something comes up. And you'll get a few people that'll be like, can you send me more? I have a client I'm meeting tomorrow. So you have to have, that's why you have to have a lot of work. You have to be ready for people to respond positively. And I'll give you a great example. I did a LinkedIn post yesterday, no, day before yesterday. And I wanted to show my work in a room, and I wanted to show a bunch of my big assemblages in the same room. So I just did an image on the same wall, and I did another image, I did another, and it just scrolled through, and it just was like, like a little film or something. And my post is directly focused on our consultants. It said, you know, here's what the work looks like in situ. If these are all available, if you like it, contact me. Click the link here or whatever. I literally got an email the next day. Are all of these available? Yes. Great. I have a client. Can I put one on hold? Yes. Great. I'll let you know when the sale is done. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Now I could have put anything up on in that post, but I was thinking someone would want one, so I made sure they were available. And when that person contacted me, I contacted them right back. And in fact, I said, there's even more. Here are the other ones.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you for that tangible bite. I was going to
Yeah.
ask for something like that. Thank you.
But yeah, but I'm a big fan of art consultants. I work with probably 6 very regularly on regular projects, and I really love it. I have no, responsibility to them, commitment other than to give them good work. And same with them. When they have a good project where my work fits, they ring me up.
That's great. Thank you. Um, Coming back to what you're talking about with building community, how does that connect to building an art career?
Yeah, it's a very important part of it. And again, going back to my art class, my professional practices class, I always save the last unit of the semester for community, where we talked about why it's important to have community and to depend on them and to help each other and ways you can do it. So when you're in art school, you already have a community. It's your cohort of people that you graduate with. And when you get out of art school, hopefully you guys stay in touch, because not everybody's going to be an artist when they get out of art school, right? Some people will become art dealers, some people will become consultants, some people become collectors, but only a few people will actually still be practicing art. But they'll be supporting each other in the various things that they do. Oh, I'm sorry, the guy is cutting bushes right outside my window here. Of
I can't
course.
hear any. Oh,
I hope it's not too loud.
not at
Anyway,
all.
um, there are many ways to connect. There are a lot of people who are returning to art after maybe having a career in a different field. There are other ways to connect. Thankfully, online is one way to do it. There are a lot of online communities and online classes and different things. I'm a big fan of salons. I ran a salon out of my studio in San Francisco for 8 years. We called it the second Wednesday of the month salon. And so second Wednesday of the month salon, everybody would come to our studio. One person would put work up. And it really wasn't about talking about the work necessarily. The work was there and you could talk about it. It was about communing together and sharing ideas and connections. And a lot of people, I mean, there were love connections made at my salon. People got married. There were collaborations that occurred between artists. There were some of my students would come to it and meet older artists that they mentored with. It was really fantastic. I loved it, and I had forgotten about it until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I was looking for a way to connect with artists because we were all so separate. And luckily, a friend of mine wanted to start um, like a private Facebook group, but it wasn't based on Facebook. And part of what we did on this group, besides share information online, was each of the founding members, there's 3 of us, we would do what we called office hours. So we would have a Zoom call once a week. And I've continued that Zoom call Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time I've continued it for 3 years. And now I call it my Tuesday morning salon. And it's a place where artists can gather. They can ask questions like, what's the best way to ship work to Switzerland? What kind of glue do you use for your collage? How do I deal with a collector who bought my work and refuses to pick it up? What do I do about this gallery that won't pay me? Has anyone had this weird internet scam? What do you do about that? And we brainstorm those kind of things. And, many minds coming together can solve almost anything. So there's those kind of ways, and then there's your local community. When I was living up in the foothills of the Sierra foothills, we had a pretty nice little core group of artists that all lived within proximity to each other. And we would meet on a regular basis, mostly just to bullshit and drink wine. But, stuff is done in those, you know what I mean? Information is shared. People help each other. Oh, you need to do your taxes. Here's my tax guy. He only does artists. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just all those casual ways that artists can aid each other.
How how can more artists connect with you, right? And see
And
your art?
what?
I
Connect with
have,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
connect with you
Yeah.
and join your community. It's
Yeah. Well, okay. So two things. One is you can get onto my mailing list on my website, raybeldner.com. The other is I'm doing a workshop specifically about art fairs, how to do them, why to do them, how to be successful. And that's a link on my website as well, or off my Instagram, and people could sign up for that. It's pretty cool. And then on my website as well, under contact, is my phone number. It is my phone number. It goes directly to my cell phone. You can text me and say, I want to join your Tuesday morning salon, and I will send you a link. It's a permanent link. You can join anytime. It doesn't cost anything. You can jump on, introduce yourself, and then just fire away with questions. There are a lot of opinionated artists on that call that will help you.
fabulous. That
Yeah.
sounds so much fun. I will join you there.
Yeah.
We text.
Good. I hope you do. Yeah.
Incredible. I also really hope that everyone watching goes or listening goes and visits Ray's website and take a look at just the impeccable professionalism that you have put together on your site and the um the new art you're making. I'm in love with. I can feel your joy in a whole new way because I've been watching your art since I met
Thank you.
you, well, maybe 5, 6 years ago. And yeah, I really, really love what you're making. And I can feel that intuitive joy that's just feels
My
alive.
mantra in making my art is more color, more texture, more shapes. Yeah, it is very joyous for me to make it and then to put it out in the world. I really love that. And people are responding well to it, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah, instantly drawn to it. So thank you for what you're making. Thank you for what you're sharing. And thank you for being open to sharing your experience in the art world and in life with us, because this is you've cracked open, demystified, and killed the romance of things we thought we
I
should do
hope so. I hope I have. I
instead of
hope I've demystified art making, and
uh,
so people understand it's a practice, it's a lifestyle, and it's a career, and it's also a job. And so, let's treat it like that as well. Let's not lose the magic, but also let's be very clear-eyed about what we're doing and how we're putting it out there.
yes. Fabulous. Thank you, Ray, so much. I really appreciate you.
It's good talking to you, Justine.